All right, everyone, we should be live. Let's make sure that's actually the case over on Rumble, of course. Delay is shorter these days. Got a lot to cover today. Got to talk about the Elon Musk outrage mob, the Arizona nitric acid spill. I did cover that this morning. I figured that for the purposes of people that are, they're getting into the news day now, and it's morning Eastern time. I'd probably want to recap that. We do also have new footage, drone footage of the aftermath in East Palestine, Ohio. It's not pretty. Bill Clinton's pubic hair sprinkled picture, his Polaroid of his wife, and crazy shit like that. One hell of a weird news day. Yeah, makes my job easier, I suppose. I do see that I believe we're live on Rumble. Yes, indeed, we are. And chat is working. Hello, everyone. For your information, for those that are on MeWe, I started a group called Clankdom. I invite you to check it out. It says Article 1 Defense. And we've got Chris saying Clank, Cam saying Morning Clankdom, and QX Zanzibar saying Hello, Clankers, among others. Yes, we are all clankers. Yes, I was going to cover, thank you, Beep Bop Boop. I was going to cover the Nicola Sturgeon resignation, but I just don't care. I don't care about Nicola Sturgeon. I don't think most Scottish people at this point care about Nicola Sturgeon either. Yeah. And of course, we've got our co-host. Isn't that lovely? I've got a bunch of empty energy drink cans right in front of the screen just to keep her from plopping down there and then staring up at the screen like she's insane. Many such cases. Many such cases. King of Biltong, who is always now the first Super Chat poster. Good morning from Antons in Roanoke, Texas. If any of you get down there to them yonder parts down in Texas, you should probably check it out. I'm eager to stop by when I see Texas next, and it will happen. It will happen again. Texas is great. I want to see the part of Texas that has alligators, too. I was in the part of Texas, which is basically miniaturized Mexico. Really great food, by the way. Mexican burgers. Oh, yes, they are on point. Avocado does go on hamburgers, believe it or not. They make better guacamole than you get here. Here, by the way, just as an aside, for some reason, enormous amounts of garlic are added to guacamole here to the point where it's almost too spicy to eat. And I don't exactly understand why. It's like a trope of Mexican cuisine has been imported to good old Europe. I make good guacamole. Just saying, you'd probably like it. That Manx guy for more cat toys. Yeah, they could probably use some catnip treats or something like that. Logan Pate, you need to look up a meme video, How to Play Gelt by Trusty Moose. It's a total war game with magic and artillery. Sounds interesting. Salt Nest Monster, ding dong, the witch is dead. No, excuse me. Spring fever is coming early this year, Jesus Christ. Boondock Saint, hey Styx, do you think any of these recent derailments look like an intentional attack, or do you suspect large-scale incompetence and or negligence? I suspect random chance. Once in a while, you get a derailment, you get a truck off the road, etc. I don't think that there's anything particularly centralized behind that. We have a shitty transportation system in the United States. But that being said, the propaganda that you're seeing from some of the leftoids, to cover for Pete Buttigieg more than anybody else, by the way, as transport secretary, is very, very funny. Well, Donald Trump deregulated trains when he was president. Yeah, okay. The new transport secretary has said exactly zilch about that for 2 fucking years. He didn't seem too concerned. Now, all of a sudden, the leftoids have to cover for his ass. I don't think he wants to cover for his own ass, though, for all too obvious reasons. We'll go to the first news story. Zoe Schiffer here, bitching about it. New. Elon Musk directed Twitter engineers to design a secret system. It's so secret that literally the next day you heard about its existence. To boost his tweets over everyone else's after his post about the Super Bowl did poorly compared to President Biden's. Yes, apparently the line they're going with is that the person who runs Twitter, number one, is not subject to the same ethos and principles that they themselves promoted for the last few years. Well, it's a private company, could do what it wants. Well, it's literally owned by Elon Musk at this point. There's no oligarchic council, so I suppose he can do what he wants, right? Libs, I think that's fair. You said that for years and years when other people were being banned and algorithmically demoted. Elon Musk decides to boost his own tweets because he owns the fucking site and enjoys some perks from it. This is a big problem, according to them, and that's funny. Secondly, they're doing the small peepee thing. The propaganda of Elon Musk he has a small penis. He's big mad himself. He's projecting. He wants to feel powerful, but really he feels impotent. That's why he's doing this. And Biden upstaged him, so there's a big problem. For political reasons, there's a reason why they note Biden as opposed to anyone else having takes on the Super Bowl, by the way. There's a reason that's being put in there. I note that they're bitching about him on his platform. Well, that's funny because most of you threatened to leave. You were going to use Tribble or Mastodork or any of these other sites, and they seem to be high and dry. Like Mastodork is still a backwater. Tribble, doesn't even exist at this point. I'm not 100% sure that it does. I get a feeling that the Midas Touch people that helped to develop that did it as a grift. You create a site that's basically a knockoff Twitter. You wait for the moment when Musk takes over. You put it out there and you spam shit about it constantly, and you get a bunch of users on board. Now, it looks like the site has 100,000% growth because instead of 2 users, we now have 2,000 users. Wow, how great. And then you flip it. You sell the actual site itself. You sign a contract with someone else who's thirsty for fame. They're a fame whore, and you offload it onto them for 10 times the profit, and then you pocket the difference. I think that's exactly what happened there. As far as Mastodork, they got in trouble some time ago because they're hosting a shit ton of illicit pornography on their site. So yeah, the left will feel right at home on such a site, just to be clear. So poor Elon, he's not even allowed to do exactly what Twitter has been doing for years, a la the Twitter files, for his own benefit. And they've got a picture of him. It makes him look like a Chinese dictator, actually, on this particular post. You can fall in, by the way, on Zoe Schiffer's bullshit post and tell him who's boss. I'm not sure if it's a male or a female. These days, I don't dare to presume. Next news story. This one's not as funny, sadly, that I covered this morning. Arizona nitric acid spill caused by deadly rollover leads to extensive closure of freeway and commutes affected. I think probably still affecting them now. It's, getting towards morning in Arizona. A big part of I-10 is now closed. The Arizona Department of Safety warned the closure in both directions on Interstate 10 would affect Wednesday morning commutes. So if you're in Arizona and you happen to be an insomniac like me and you're watching this for some reason, instead of trying to get a couple of Z's and knock yourself out with some booze or whatever, you're probably going to have a tough morning if you have to use that particular road. Thankfully, Arizona, because a lot of it is hyper developed, especially around Phoenix or Tucson, thankfully, you probably have other options. You'll be able to get to work maybe 10 minutes later, something like that. This is a crazy tale. What happened is that a truck carrying hazardous waste decided to flip over the guardrail, I think, actually, literally, and was spewing out nitric acid fumes for an extended period of time. The driver is dead, unfortunately, but that's not due to the nitric acid. That's due to the accident itself. Other people have been exposed. Now, as I pointed out this morning, if you look at the specific area in which this accident happened, it's thankfully not the middle of Tucson. It's quite a bit out on the edge of it. It's part of the metropolitan area. It's technically an adjacent township. That being said, even people from Tucson itself were messaging me earlier in the wake of my first video saying that they did actually see the fumes coming in. They're quite colorful, sort of an orangish, yellowish hue to them. And they could smell that there were chemicals in the air. And that's a problem because nitric acid is no joke. It's going to cause some damage. People in the immediate area have still been evacuated, although they did lift, I think an hour afterwards, they lifted the shelter-in-place order for people that were beyond the half-mile radius. The problem is this is in proximity to a high school. It's in reasonable proximity to the entire penitentiary system that happens to be just south by southwest in that area. It's adjacent to actually a university attachment that's part of a tech, sort of a tech park, surrounded by solar panels, etc. I wonder if this would affect the solar panels, like, the nitric acid fumes settle on them, corrode them, and make them useless or something. Oh shit, we have to shell out $100 million to replace the panels. Good thing we're working with a Chinese company. I guess they'll have to do the reinstallation. They'll have to absorb the cost. If I was in the immediate area, I would probably wait a while before going back. Thankfully, this will dissipate and degenerate into the background quicker than what happened in East Palestine, which we will be talking about in a moment. Let's see. Callie E. I have the coup for the first time, so my sleep schedule is screwed, but the silver lining is finally catching you live after years of watching. Thank you, man. Get some chicken noodle soup. I'm going to be making beef stew tonight, actually. Oh, yes. Ozzy's Robots. YouTube is nerfing independent channels and censoring super chats like crazy. Yeah, I've noticed that. I've noticed that I've been more algorithmically demoted over the last few weeks. They've definitely amplified their algorithmic distortion. Meanwhile, I'm skyrocketing on Twitter and on Rumble, so I don't have to give a damn about YouTube's bullshit anymore. At this point, I don't have to care. Which shows a little bit of foresight. Cam2425IA on Rumble, I'm a private company. No, not that way. Exactly. They were constantly rambling about how Twitter can do whatever it wants until Elon Musk took over. And that's only because CNN told them that Elon Musk was far right. He's not far right. He's not even a conservative. He said, well, I would just probably vote Republican. Well, who cares? It's like a Cornine Republican is right wing. Mitt Romney is right wing. No, he's a neoliberal. He just happens to have an R after his name. How cruel. I-10 is still closed. I'm one of the computer nerds in the tech park near there. There's actually a lot of stuff in that area. Seems like a good idea to stay away still. Yes, I saw that. I looked at the map to determine exactly where the crash happened. They listed the side roads in between which the interstate is closed for the immediate future. And I can't remember the name of the roads, but it's an extensive area. There are homes in the area. Although it's not a particularly beefy development, there are a lot of areas there that aren't developed at all. It's just hills and plains and shit like that. But still, tens of thousands of people impacted directly. Probably tens of thousands of more as far as, you know, they're part of the university attachment. They're working in a factory or a school or something in the immediate area. And I have a feeling that the school, those kids are happy. Oh, our school is getting bathed with nitric acid. We don't have to go and learn today. Oh, shit, they invented remote learning. Ah, fuck, it's time to sit there by my computer for the next 8 hours. And I won't even be able to look at cool stuff. I won't even be able to watch Styx X and Hammer. I'll have to watch school bullshit. Not a bad account. Will the doom cloud end agriculture in the USA? Yeah, no, but in that area, it'll contaminate things. John, yes, exactly. Yeah, you don't want to be contaminated. She contaminates the hallway with her piss sometimes. John Wells, I own a trucking company. Hazmat cannot go through downtowns of major cities. Cities have designated routes. The train was not declared hazmat. Chemicals move every day. The volume is actually down year over year. Oh, the train was not declared hazmat? Jesus Christ. Transylvania 90, February, the month of UFOs and chemical warfare. Yeah, apparently. The weather's fine. That smell on the air is healthy for your lungs. Next news story. Ian Miles Chung actually putting this out. East Palestine, Ohio is a complete mess. You'll not see drone footage like this in the MSM. Follow ohioexplosion.com for more. Take a look at this and ask yourself if this looks like an area that is inhabitable. I don't think so. I'm actually going to put on the drone footage here while I'm shitting it up on the airwaves here. It's crazy, and it's right next to a fairly main road. It seems there are homes in the area. There's a shit ton of work going on there. And that's where the derailment actually happened. You can see the scorch marks actually from the trenching that they did. It looks like they've ripped up a bunch of trees, probably because they're heavily contaminated, which sort of underscores that their original explanation that, hey, 99% of the stuff will just burn up into the atmosphere and be inert and fine. I don't think that that's true. Otherwise, why would you be dredging out the soil? Why would you be cutting down the trees that are in that region? I mean, I know that they're dead, so there's no use for them there. Why would you be taking it upon yourselves to remove all of that material and cart it off? It's because it's chemically contaminated. Here's the fact about the East Palestine derailment in Ohio. Here's the fact as opposed to the mythology that's being spun by other people. This contamination, at least locally, is going to be fairly high level and stick around for quite some time. That's number one. Kitty almost ending the live stream here by trouncing on my keyboard. Thank you very much. Downwind, there will also be contamination. I'm getting more footage, by the way, people are sending me, including some people that live in that immediate area, of dead fish, dead frogs, dead birds, etc., because of the firestorm that happened there and the chemicals that are now leaching into the water. If you are anywhere near that area, I reiterate this. If you are a clanker in that part of Ohio, within at least, let's say, 10 miles of the immediate zone, or 100, maybe 200 miles downwind, which extends into other states. If you are in that zone, get a physical. And if you happen to have a well, get your water tested immediately. Make sure that you know, hey, here are the levels of various chemicals and shit that are in my well water at this time. If 2 years later, there's a class action suit where people are getting leukemia, where people are getting some other problem, cancer would be number one, but there are other problems potentially attendant as well with vinyl chloride and some of these other nasties that were in that train. If there is a class action suit and you have similar symptoms, similar problems, and you can establish based on testing at the time and based on testing later that there was a change in your well water or there was a change in your health based on your physical, you may be subject to that class action suit. You could potentially get a huge amount of money from that. I strongly suggest that you do so. Don't wait. Do it now, because time is of the essence when you're talking about a legal case like this. You have to establish right off the bat whether you can be an aggrieved party. You can't sign on to a lawsuit. There's got to be a grievance before you can sue someone, civilly or criminally. There's got to be a grievance. Some wrong has to have been committed that is legally actionable. Do it. Get a physical. I know I hate going to the doctor too. I would definitely decide to break with my long-standing tradition of hating hospital settings to go and get a physical and establish, hey, I'm not dying at the moment. I'm not cancer-ridden at the moment. Well, I mean, I hope not. I don't have emphysema. I don't have heart disease or any of these other things. I'm functional. I'm not fucked up. There's nothing particularly wrong with me. And if there is, of course, that's documented too. Maybe you have diabetes. I don't think that vinyl chloride will cause that, but it's on record. A snapshot in time of your health and your well's health, the health of your animals potentially at the time. You should even, if you have livestock, you're a farmer, you're 50 miles away, downwind from this explosion. Have some of your animals tested by the local vet. Have them do a physical, do a write-up, notarize it, etc. If 5 years from now your prized heifers are all fucked up and their udders are riddled with tumors, maybe there's a lawsuit there. Do it. And do it as quickly as possible. Do not wait. I have a feeling there's going to be at least some thousands of cases of cancer that are related to this. Girl of the Valley. Hi, Sticks. Why do you think there's no reports on the well-being of the conductor and crews of the derailed trains? Is the crew glowing? Are they foreign agents? I don't know, actually. Come to think of it, that is a good question. Why are we not getting updates from Norfolk Southern about the people that actually work for them and whether they're all fucked up? Probably because they're all fucked up. That's the problem. Ozzy's Robots, at a real estate closing yesterday, met with someone that was the largest fundraiser for Trump in Florida 2020. Their issue with DeSantis is his chummy relationship with the Bushes. Also, he's middle class and hungry for money. Being wealthy has its advantages. Lol. Yeah, the higher your income is, it's nice. You can't buy happiness, but it's nice to be able to buy the source of your misery now, isn't it? Good on you. James Flowers, isn't there a Denzel Washington movie with this plot? I don't know. I think there's a movie called White Noise that people are alluding to, based on a book, I think, originally, that's basically literally a carbon copy of what's happening in Ohio right now. I don't know if Denzel Washington's in it, though, because I don't keep up. I don't care about film. I'd prefer to watch old documentaries from the 70s and 80s and stuff like that. Transylvanian 90. If there was a good time to buy bottled water, now is that time. I'd avoid drinking tap water there for the next few months. Better safe than sorry. I would agree, unless you have a good filtration system. Then it's perfectly fine. At the very least, get a Brita filter or something. Get some of those survival straws with the charcoal filters in them. Those will work for radiation. I'm sure that they'll work for these chemical contaminants too. If only the fish had invented them, they wouldn't be dying off right now. Transylvanian 90, James, yes, there's a good film called Unstoppable. Sigil Stone 17, the burning of the chemicals is going to cost so much money to all parties involved with possible prosecutions. It seems the people in charge are actually, literally, completely retarded. Yeah, but the government is going to cover for their asses. Next news story. Arizona rancher held on $1 million bond fired warning shots. Armed men pointed AK-47 right at him, defense claims. This is about George Allen Kelly. I talked about this last week in reference to the case of the Arizona rancher. He sees some illegal migrants, well, aliens, but whatever, crossing his property from the southern border. His ranch is adjacent to the literal border itself, which maybe we need to do something about and have like a no-go zone or something so that we don't have these particular issues and people tromping through your turnip patch or whatever. I realize they don't grow many turnips in Arizona. I'm being facetious. Through your hog sties or your cattle pens or whatever. And he shot one of them and killed them. And what I pointed out at the time is we definitely needed to wait for more info because depending on the situation, he may or may not have been justified. If the defense claim is borne out, if this rancher fired warning shots at the men and they pointed a gun at him, let's put our lawyer caps on. Again, we've got a convolution. And I really wish that these fucking articles would try to explain the timeline with regards to these cases. I come out of I'm George Allen Kelly. I come out of my ranch. I see people running across my field. I fire warning shots at them, and then they aim a gun at me. Am I justified? Not necessarily. Did I know that they were armed? That could be a claim that he could make. Were they in fear of their life? This crazy dude came out of his house, and we didn't even know whose property we were on, and all of a sudden, he started shooting. So I was armed and I shot back. Now, of course, I don't know that we've got proof that they were armed, but we'll keep an open mind. Or did they train their guns on him? If they attempted to aim a firearm at him on his own property, he is absolutely justified. The problem comes down to the timeline involved. The timeline is very important. You can, and by the way, you cannot fire warning shots under many scenarios in the United States. There are states in which you can probably get away with it because of non-enforcement. But generally speaking, thank you, Kitty, and knocking my energy drink over. Generally speaking, firing a warning shot is legally dubious. And I'll tell you why. And I've literally referred to this actually in my original coverage of this particular case. When you fire a warning shot, when you happen to have a lethal weapon, you have a firearm on you, whatever kind it happens to be. If a prosecutor really wants to, they can make the case that you weren't in fear of your life. You weren't justified in deploying the weapon at all. Clearly, you weren't in fear. You had a clear shot at them. You could have killed them. If you were in fear of your life, you would have done so. Clearly, you weren't because you fired a warning shot, giving them the chance to respond. If you fire a warning shot and the person isn't moving directly towards you and you shoot them anyway, you can get charged with murder. You can be as sympathetic towards him as you want. People are crossing his property illegally. It's happened before. One of them was a repeat crosser, although he wouldn't have known that at the time, so that's legally irrelevant. That being said, you have to go by the actual law. You can't go by, well, it's the right thing to do. Well, what's the right thing to do may not be the same as what's legal to do. It should be, generally speaking, those two things should overlap pretty heavily. They don't always do so. Trespass and property law and self-defense can be very complex depending on what state you're in and pertinent to federal law as well. And of course, just because he gets cleared on state charges doesn't mean that the Biden admin doesn't come in and levy federal charges against him at some hyperbolic level. If he fired warning shots because he was having a gun aimed at him, probably skates. If he fired warning shots and then a gun was aimed at him, that could be legally problematic. But this article doesn't tell us what the actual timeline is. So once again, we're left in the dark. We have a little bit more info, but it raises as many questions as it fucking goddamn answers. And I wish that these people, can't you people do your fucking job? Supposedly you're journalists. You didn't even ask these things. Yeah, it should be justified. Someone's running across your property. Unless they're running in the opposite direction after you issued a warning and therefore they're fleeing, they're attempting to leave your property. Yeah, you should be justified in defending yourself and defending your property. But that's not necessarily the way that it is. So we'll have to wait for more information. Yet a fucking again. How lovely. Let's see. Wandering Railroader. I'm a conductor at Norfolk Southern. This happened because of precision scheduled railroading. NS has cut maintenance and raised the temperature threshold on the detectors. The crew is fine. Good to hear that the crew's fine. That's worrisome. How many other rail lines are doing the same thing? Victoria Winter. Biden should replace Buttigieg with a Siamese twins. One side can be competent and the other side can be transgender. Horwitz, Feinberg, and Horwitz. Ironic that the closest river in East Palestine is named the Sulphur Run River. Probably about the color that it is right now. I'd be checking my groundwater. Red Z. Do your cats meow in Dutch? Flemish? Check out the Office of Net Assessment. Dode entity. They need serious further review. Later, ma'am. Now, they meow in cat. Thankfully, I'm fluent in that language. Generally speaking, when Yana's meowing, it's, hey, I'm an asshole and I want attention. Let me destroy something or make a mess. Next news story. I'm not sure how relevant it is, but it's funny anyway. Tricky Haley has announced her White House bid. A couple of weeks ago, she effectively made the statement that she was planning to run. She's officiated. As she signed the paperwork, she is going to be running. I'd be surprised if she breaks 5% in any poll. I think she's doomed. And I think this is more about positioning herself to be, number one, a potential VP candidate, as opposed to presidential, being a running mate, regardless of who wins. That's the first. And number two, to get notoriety and money. If nobody else chooses to run because they conceive of Trump as being preeminently the one that's going to win, she can be the anti-Trump. She gets on the debate stage because there's nobody else there. She gets to bitch about Trump and moan about how bad his presidency was, which will go over really, really well, by the way. It'll be like a fucking lead balloon. You see, the problem is that Nikki Haley really, really liked Trump and defended him vigorously for years, getting called out by the liberals because of that. I find it funny that some of them are iron fist and velvet glove backhanding her right now by congratulating her and saying, well, I hope you win. It'd be nice to see a female presidential candidate. Yes, of course. Nikki Haley would be the unipartyist choice now, wouldn't she? Warmonger, neocon, Uniparty Inc. Yeah, she ticks all the boxes, and she has the grievance capability of literally basing her campaign on being female. And they'll let her get away with doing so. I just don't see it in the cards, though. I don't think that Orange Man bad, although I used to say for years that Orange Man good. Mysteriously, I changed on that. I promised not to run if he intended to run, but now I'm going back on that promise. By the way, let's start a war. I'm not exactly sure that that's going to be the campaign message of strength that she would need in order to break into the double-digit range. And if you can't do that, you're not viable. Right now, you have three people that are viable. Trump, who has announced he's at the top of the pack. DeSantis, who has not and may not announce, who's running well behind Trump, but he is in the viability range. And right at the outside range of that, and this is the most mysterious thing at all, is Mike Pence. He runs in the high single digits, low double digit range, around 8 to 10 points. He's just at the cusp of viability. Unfortunately, with Nikki Haley getting in, Mike Pence is shut out because Donald Trump has about 35-40% of the party sewn up. They will vote for him. That's not the majority of the party, but it's a significant enough minority that pressure is on so that in a crowded field, nobody else can really get to that threshold other than Ron DeSantis. Pence has just been locked out of the field. Mike Pence has just been locked out. He got cucked by Nikki Haley. That's the funny part. People would default to her anyway because she's younger. It'd be funny to see the GOP voters. She gets a couple million people conned into actually voting for her in the Republican primaries. She probably will. Will she drop and endorse? Will she go back on her promise a second time and say, well, no, I'm all in for Trump 24 or DeSantis 24 for that matter. Yeah, give me a running mate spot. Make me Secretary of State. That would be really, really great. If Donald Trump, by the way, clinches, and I think he will, please do not put Nikki Haley in your cabinet. Please do not give her an ambassadorial position. Please do not send her to the UN. Please let her just go away. Don't give her anything. Don't promise her anything in exchange for an endorsement. Spurn her endorsement and say, look, fuck you. You pledged you wouldn't run. You're running anyway. You're doing it for attention. I don't need your endorsement. Tell her to fuck off and keep her out of the goddamn administration if it begins. Boy, oh boy, that wouldn't be a good time. If Nikki Haley is anywhere near the nuclear codes, you have a problem. Let's see. Boom here. Law of self-defense. Andrew Branca, the most knowledgeable man on self-defense. He will agree with you, Sticks. Yeah, exactly. It's a heaping pile of horseshit. There should be clear-cut laws and situations with regards to it, but there aren't. And so you get cases like this. You have to establish a timeline. You can't just randomly shoot someone moving in the other direction. If they aimed a gun at you already, you're in fear of your life, that's probably justified. But if you fired a warning shot, which means you may not be justified, and then they brandish at you, they can argue self-defense and you just murdered them, even if it's on your own property, because you escalated the situation in which they would not have aimed the gun at you had you not escalated. A prosecutor should not argue such a case, but they can. They are empowered to do so if they want to advance their career, of course. That's a lucrative way to do so. Judd Lenz, thanks. Chimp got 3 new subs. Big Chimp Tactical on YouTube and Rumble. Big Chimp Tactical. So you can follow Big Chimp Tactical on Rumble and on YouTube. A little shout out for yourself. Slab, did you see that Vivek Ramaswamy is considering a run for 2024? I have no clue who that is, so probably it's irrelevant. That Manx guy, Trump v. DeSantis run would rip Florida apart. It would destroy DeSantis in the end, because unless he wins and goes on to become president, otherwise he's blamed for causing Trump to lose, he loses all the MAGA voters who voted for him. Yeah, that would be great. That's why I'm still skeptical that he'll get in. It's fine for people to get into the field if they think that they have a shot, or if they just want to grift like Bolton or Nikki Haley. It just wouldn't, career-wise, I disagree with Razorfist on one single point with his video regarding this subject. If DeSantis does get in, he draws the ire of some of the people that otherwise support him. Not all of them, but some of them. If he does not win, or if he runs and Trump gets it anyway, but first he looks weak. Let's say that Trump becomes president. Well, then he's at odds with the president of the United States. That's a bad situation. Or Trump loses. Trump's fans will blame DeSantis for bloodying him in the primaries. Or DeSantis ends up going on, but he doesn't gain the presidency. Well, then he's still got the ire of the MAGA crowd. Really, the only way through it is if he not only becomes the primary nominee, but he also wins the presidency. And there's no guarantee that that happens. It's possible. I mean, he is a viable individual. It's just not necessarily, it's not certain. He would take a big gamble on a career that otherwise is guaranteed re-election to the gubernatorial slot and the short list for 2028. I don't see why he would bother doing that. I would endorse, if I were Ron DeSantis, I would endorse Trump today. I'd say, look, the writing's on the wall, love him or hate him, he's going to be the nominee. I'm standing down. I want to be the governor of Florida. I've got a job to do. I'll do the best in this state to help to promote him, but I've got other things that I have to do right now. Call me in 4 years. That's what I would do if I were Ron DeSantis. Pokey Slasher. If anyone is making the Sticks deepfake, please have it say some variation of the Andy 6 copy pasta. It would be great to hear it from the log poster. Yeah, make an animator man AI voice. I heard Darth Vader the other day saying some extremely racist and disturbing things, AI generated. That one was a little bit off. Hell Radio Lives. Nikki Haley is Ben Shapiro's political spirit animal. That basically says it all. Yeah, she's basically the female Jeb Bush. And just as fucking boring, too. Yeah, you might as well nominate Chris Christie over Nikki Haley. He'd be about as viable. Next news story. Breaking. This is from Brian Krasenstein, one of our all-time favorites, of course. You'll all agree the Krasenstein brothers are just a hoot and a half. Well, they are funny, mainly because of the cell phones, but, you know, whatever. Breaking. To get past GOP abortion restrictions, the Satanic Temple has launched an online abortion clinic that prescribes abortion medication to patients who want to take part in its religious abortion ritual. Of course, that's legalese. This is to trigger a lawsuit. They've done it before. They've named the clinic Samuel Alito's Mom's Satanic Abortion Clinic. Now, I'll weigh in here, of course. I'm pro-choice in the first trimester. I believe a woman has a right to choose. Also, if the woman's right is in danger, I don't want government getting involved with that. So, I mean, you know, to people that are tradcons or whatever, I'm far left on this issue, whatever. This is not particularly helpful now, is it, optically, in trying to promote the concept of a woman's right to choose, having the Satanic Temple getting involved. I wish that they would just stick to what they're good at, which is putting up Moloch statues at state houses, triggering inevitable legal suits, and then winning, usually, and putting up the Satan statue. That's called, number one, it's humorous. Nobody's inconvenienced by that. No real pressing issue that causes anyone potential harm or reduction in their personal day-to-day liberties is impacted in any way. You go to Arkansas, to the state house, and you say, we want to put up the statue or picture or whatever of the devil. We're going to put up the macaroni art with the pasta strainer and call ourselves Pastafarians now. That's funny. It's amusing. Because people who are hyper-religious and want the Ten Commandments monument there do not have a legal leg to stand on to prevent them from doing so. When you do this, though, it is far less helpful. Actual people might be impacted by this. Do you think this is not going to be used as propaganda by people who say, hey, look, abortion's being promoted by extremists? And of course, Northam gave him ammo on this with his, post-birth abortion allowance, effectively. Others have too, within the Democratic Party and leftism in general, arguing, number one, abortions are a good thing. You should have them all the time, or they should be utterly unrestricted. You should be able to abort at like 8.5 months or something. They've completely flown the coop and gone crazy on this issue. That is fodder for people who want to ban abortion outright. It is used by them for that purpose. I guarantee that more than one church this Sunday is going to be covering this story. And it won't just be churches. You're giving the right wing what they want. They're going to be able to present a picture to people who are not even particularly out there and say, look at what they want. They want literal abortion rituals. They're being very open about it. They're openly calling for it. Most of these people are not aware that the Satanic Temple is one part satire and one part atheism. When you present yourself as Satanists, you have to understand, and as a former Satanist, I understand this fully, you have to understand that a lot of people believe that to mean devil worshiper. They don't understand the nuance because of the terminology that you're using, the attention-seeking, grifting terminology that was developed by Anton LaVey back in the middle of the 1960s. It's not going to be helpful. Even the fucking Krasenstein's getting called out here by liberals by even posting this. He had to, disgusting, you would stoop so low as to promote Satan. And Krasenstein replying, you clearly don't know what the church represents. Of course they don't. That's the point. That's why the Satanic Temple should shut the fuck up about this issue and go back to making its devil statues. But you're too stupid to fucking realize that, and the strategy involved and the optics. They do matter to the masses, Bro, are you really promoting this? Just posting the news, says Krasenstein. See, he doesn't dare to promote it directly now, does he? Because he knows better. I'm not against it, though. I support women having access to these drugs. Well, yeah, you can literally take fucking cohosh and pennyroyal tea, and you can induce a miscarriage in the exact same way that these pills work. Less healthful for you, maybe. Maybe not as effective, but people have been doing that for literally thousands of years. Abortifacients are a common thing. That's fine. Do you think that the devil worshippers over there promoting abortion rituals is actually going to help promote that basic mentality? No, you fucking moron. It's not. It's going to be used as propaganda. But apparently you're unaware of this, or you're unconcerned, and you're just doing the clickbait thing, is what I would say to Krasenstein. Yes, there are plenty of ways to trigger an abortion that don't involve any legality whatsoever and will just literally be the same as a miscarriage. That doesn't mean that you need the Satanic Temple involved for your optics. It will be so great. Everyone is going to line up to support abortion when they know that they're standing with a group that many Americans, I would say probably majority, believe are genuinely worshiping the fucking devil. Black Bull 77, any chance of a Discord channel? No, I don't use Discord and never will. It's convoluted, it's stupid, it's pointless as far as my content creation goes. Mega Sea Monkey, morning sticks. Although amusing, I'm not a fan of these AI voice generators, some scary tech. You can tell the difference, like it doesn't sound exactly like Darth Vader on this particular clip that I got the other day. It's funny more than anything else. Apache, is it propaganda when the pro side are so blatant? Yes, I mean, it is. The idea that these atheists are actually conducting devilish rituals with aborted fetuses is wrong. They're doing this for attention. They're trying to get attention so they get sued so that they can countersue. That's been their strategy now for many years. They've done it before successfully, by the way. The problem is that even if you win the fucking suit, the optics of it are so poor, you risk taking people who are, like myself, independent. We lean towards being pro-choice and alienating us simply because, I mean, I don't want to stand with a bunch of moron far-left commies that are going to do this. No, I'm not going to stand with them. You want to put up another Moloch statue at a state capitol, that's perfectly fine, but I'm not going to encourage teenagers to do weird-ass rituals with abortifacients because that's just fucking stupid. It's not helpful. How's these robots? Trump seems oddly quiet on current events. Is he commenting on things like balloons, train derailment, vax mandates, etc.? He should be blasting Booty Judge. Well, he does, but he fucking refuses to get back on Twitter, so nobody hears him. He's stuck over on Truth Social that nobody uses. I would say, again, my biggest problem with Trump's re-election launch. I like Trump. I will vote for Trump. I hope he becomes president again. It'd be the best comeback story in U.S. history. Grover Cleveland 2.0 on steroids. I would like his economic leadership. I would definitely like his diplomatic and military leadership at the moment when this world is ready to explode. I would love to vote for Trump. Get the fuck back on Twitter. Even get the fuck back on Instagram. Swallow your pride. Divest yourself of Truth Social. Or just break the contract. Let them sue you. Let them take some money. Sell a skyscraper. Pay them their blood money. Abandon them. And divest yourself and go back to shit posting on Twitter. Elon Musk is probably not going to kick you off the platform, especially at such a sensitive time. Put your voice out there. It's not going far enough. Nobody is seeing your stuff except for a bunch of leftoids that park on your material to bitch. And so that allows them to proactively analyze your material and call you an oaf and an idiot and orange man bad and all that stuff, which taints the audience that receives it. Or people that are really core MAGA anyway that don't need to be convinced that they want to vote for you. 99% of them already intend to. You need to appeal to other groups of people, and they're not on Truth Social. You've got to get back on Twitter. You've got to get back on Instagram. And you've got to try to get back on YouTube too. Well, maybe less so. He's got a huge footprint on Rumble, so I don't know how relevant YouTube will be in a couple of years, actually. Next news story. Mr. Dapperton has been fucked sideways by YouTube and by Facebook. Speaking of big tech platforms, we will read out his tweet. Well, minus one exact word, because I don't know if I can say it on a YouTube live stream. I am really fucking pissed off. You can criticize any company in the world except Redacted. Of course, I don't know if I can criticize them either, based on what he's saying. Both my Facebook and YouTube, fucking both, are in the middle of being terminated for medical misinformation, for simply making memes about Redacted, about the Galactic Empire. I got 4 strikes over this shit recently. So Mr. Dapperton, whose content I like and who is a friend of Clankdom. I don't know if he clanks his spoon, but he's at least an ally of ours. He calls for aid. Gundor calls for aid. So pour in here. I didn't link in the description. I did not archive it so that you can interact directly. Please do the @Team YouTube thing there. And I don't know exactly if there's like a Facebook help or something, because I haven't used Facebook in 3 or 4 years now at this point. You can try to get him restored on these platforms because he makes good content, Mr. Dapperton. And he doesn't deserve that treatment. And by the way, YouTube tweaked its policy anyway some time ago. They're still fucking banning him. And I think some of this was over old videos too. And they keep fucking doing this. When they started this policy and when they started their political disinfo policy, I had to go back and scrub hundreds of fucking goddamn videos. You go to my Social Blade and you look back from last year and you'll see a massive dip in the number of views on the channel. That's because I had to remove like 300 fucking videos. And those were peak, by the way, viewership times too. That was before YouTube started algorithmically throttling me harder. Throttle me harder, daddy. A huge number of views. I can't even remember, like 20, 30 million views or something like that were removed from the channel in the course of a single day because I had to scrub the material. And by the way, YouTube and Facebook, no, not everyone can go back through all of their posts and scrub literally goddamn everything that they did every time you decide to change the rules and automatically make it retroactive. That shouldn't apply retroactively. If something was up before a rule could be broken because the rule did not exist, if the content is removed, it shouldn't result in a strike. Old material removed retroactively should never be struck down and actually result in punitive action on the channel, unless, and only unless, it happens to be a legal issue. And medical disinfo, however loosely claimed, is not illegal. It's legal to criticize pharma companies. It's legal to have misgivings about certain medical infrastructure, or certain medical rules, or certain medical apparatuses, or whatever. There's no law against it. It's just a bitch piece, and it's being selectively enforced on people like Dapperton who have views that run outside of the mainstream. If they happen to be MAGA, if they happen to be, in some cases, far left, by the way, if they happen to be libertarian or an anarchist or something, then they get fucked. If they're a neocon neolib, they can raise the same concerns in exactly the same language, and no punishment is entailed. That's the real problem. Differential enforcement is the devil of tech sites. Sigil Stone 17 on Rumble. Speaking of AI voices, heard one of the Bidens doing the "You'll Never Be a Woman" copy pasta. I can send it to you on Twitter. I did see that, actually. The audio is spot on, the video much less so. Doing AI audio is a lot easier, it seems. Durham Francis sent $1 Canadian without a comment. Thank you very much. Magnum Norris. Dude, YouTube is trying to deny my super chat, but you know this. Yeah, apparently that happens all the time. It depends on what you say. They've got a massive list of banned terms now, I guess. Apache. Trump being silent now is part of his plan. Absence makes the heart fonder, and he's letting Dems dig a hole. Hope he comes out swinging closer to 24. It's possible. But, you could also drum up a shit ton of attention and effectively just ignore Biden, pretend you're actually the president anyway, and go about business politically that way on these platforms. And eventually the legacy media will have no choice but to talk about you. You already know that their coverage will be negative, but it is anyway. And then the last news story of the day. This is something that is very, very funny, and I am not the only one who noticed this. Bill Clinton, the other day, decided to celebrate Valentine's Day by posting a picture of himself and Hillary. In better times, that was before 5 or 6 of the sexual harassment claims against Bill Clinton, including Monica Lewinsky. This was, I don't know, it looks like the early 80s maybe or something like that. Back when she had eggs. And there is a pubic hair on Hillary's face in this photograph. I shit you not, link in the description. Go see it for yourself. Does that not look like it's a pubic hair? Probably from one of Bill Clinton's recent lays that wasn't Hillary Clinton. Of course, it could be one of Hillary's or one of Bill's. Who knows and who wants to know? I thought it was funny because, you're going to post this picture, right? You have a Polaroid, from back in the early, 82 or something. You have it scanned from back in your time when you were younger. You want to put it up there and say, I love this woman. She let me get away with cheating on her 5 or 6 different times. So I really love her for tolerating me and not kicking me to the curb once she had a political career of her own. I'm so thankful that she never talked about me in her memoir. I'm so glad that once she got into the Senate, she didn't fucking abandon my stupid ass that could no longer run for the presidency and was a has-been. I'm so glad that she didn't beat me over the head with a pan or throw a plate at my face like she allegedly has done multiple times to other people. I'm so glad she didn't get wasted and light my penis on fire. And the list goes on and on. Let me post a picture of us together, back when we were happy, back when it wasn't just a work marriage, but probably there was some connection there. It wasn't just because we wanted to be a political power couple. We sort of had it going on. She was still able to get moist around me, basically. And you post the picture that has the pubic hair right on her forehead. I'm almost thinking, is this a deliberate attempt? Bill Clinton said, hey, staffer, I need your help. I can't run these newfangled computer things. And he gets the staffer over there and he's like, you want to scan the Polaroid or something. And then the staffer decides to make a joke by putting a pubic hair over Hillary's face before scanning. And of course, he doesn't know what the fuck's going on. He doesn't handle his own Twitter. He's 80 years old or something. And they put it up there. Or maybe Bill himself did it. He's like, I'm old and dying anyway. I'm really going to show that firecrotch who's boss. I was president. She never will be. And so he decides to put that on there. And he can claim he'll do the Shifty Bill thing. He'll do the Teflon Don sort of thing And I said, no, I didn't notice that the hair was there. I had the staffer do it. So she'll throw the plate at the staffer or something like that. Yes. Oh my God, I thought this was funny as hell. I know that that's not technically newsworthy, but I had to get that out of my system. Shloomy Shloms. Good morning, Sticks. Just watching your stream. We'll be rewinding and watching through. Great news, though. I found out I'm going to be a dad. Happy belated Valentine's Day. Well, congrats to you. We'll have to get a gender update at some point. Is it a son or a daughter? Friend of Squirrel. Test and save the Ohio Squirrels. Yes, pube confirm. Yeah, it doesn't look like a head hair to me. It might be a beard hair, but Bill never had a beard. I mean, if you look at the picture here, or if you look at Bill lately, and it's a darker colored hair, so it's not from their gray-haired period. So this is a hair original to the original Polaroid. They probably scanned it after it had been put in the actual album. In fact, it looks a little bit like that. There's a little bit of a sheen on there that looks like it was plasticed over. This is a pubic hair from the 1980s Bill Clinton, or from one of his lays, or possibly from Hillary. And he's putting it on full display. Now, he fucking looked at this and he didn't fucking notice that there was a big ass hair on her forehead in a very conspicuous position with really high contrast. That's also coincidental. Bullshit, dude. He knew that it was there if he looked at the picture. Otherwise, a staffer is totally trolling them, or is too fucking inept to realize, hey, I know this album sleeve is closed here, but maybe we can use a different picture. Maybe I can carefully remove it, replace the plastic. I know it's an old picture, but it's not ancient history. It's not a 100-year-old photograph. Nobody decided to do that. Ethan Toys appears to be on the lens. No, it looks like it's enclosed within the actual plastic to me. It could be multiple pubes. It almost looks like there's two of them. Maybe Bill just got dicked down again, and he had his old pube collection in his jar next to the bed, and he's just sprinkled them all over in one of his weird fetishes. By the way, please send no more super chats. At some point here, I have to get the stew started. We are having beef stew tonight. Oh, yes. Inside of the Ages, the pic of B and H taken just before their stroll to Mordor. They look like hobbit trolls. Aaron, see NATO backpedaling on fighters for Ukraine? No, I didn't see that. I'll look into it. Transylvanian 90. Do you think overregulation paradoxically causes disasters like in Ohio one by forcing companies to cut corners to avoid the huge regulatory burden? Absolutely. Another reason why I support libertarianism. Yeah, trains crash sometime. It's really sad. People, generally speaking, they try to keep things running because they don't want to lose their job. But yeah, when the government steps in, obviously it doesn't make things instantaneously better. The government's been involved with the rail industry in the U.S. for 150 years. Rail is reasonably safe because of its particular kind of design. But there are hiccups, and regulating more isn't going to eliminate them all. Not a bad account. What's the status of Netherlands exiled farmers? I'm not 100% sure. Mainly because I don't read Dutch fluently. I can read some Dutch, but it's difficult for me. I'm better with my own language. So yeah, I think that I'm going to go offline now. Thank you to the 5,000 people tuning in live here. I will go live again tomorrow. And yeah, I have to go off now because I think that at any given time, the baby's upstairs, but she could start chuffing up at any time. I got to do some food prep. And by the way, beef stew is so goddamn good. Yes. Big ass chunks of fucking beef. Yeah. You use the cheaper steak cuts too. That's the best part because you're cooking it for hours. It doesn't matter if it's a little bit on the tough side to begin with. It'll fall apart in the end anyway. If you use a flat iron steak, by the way, it will literally fall apart into the little beef shreds. And if you add one of those cut up into the stew and then you stew it for several hours, it'll just all shred. It'll add to the savoriness of the whole thing. It'll thicken the entire stew. I learned that the last time that I made beef stew. That's about all, everyone. Peace out.